I am, I know those dang sinus infections and allergies are no fun, but I am so happy to be here and excited. And let me just tell you, I want to applaud you for all that you've done, not only prior to this, but also even doing this show so that others can learn from other people. So thank you for that. And thanks for having me. I appreciate you calling me young, first of all. So thank you. I'll take it. I will take it. But no, I started out in school with not knowing what I wanted to do. And I decided, fine, I'll go to college and I'll start in psychology. And I was following the same path I had in high school where my grades were not the best. Like my high school report card would show D's and F's, it's just, and I felt stupid. I lacked confidence. So when I chose psychology, because I was interested in it, I ended up the first semester getting a 1.2 GPA. So there's, oh, you have plenty of time. Like it's funny because I lost perspective the other day, and a friend of mine said, "Okay, so you realize that you still, I know what your goals are, and we're all you get frustrated at times with not being where you want to be. Yet," she said, "you understand what you've accomplished in the past 16 years. You're talking the next 10. Like think about what all you've done." I'm like, that was such a great perspective switch. But yeah, so when I was in college, I was put on probation to be kicked out, and I thought, yep, not smart. You like I, again just reinforced everything. So I thought, fine, if you want to kick me out, then I've always wanted to take sign language. So I looked in our university catalog and I pulled the catalog and I flipped through to find sign language. And yes, Apolonia, that's how old I am. I had to physically pull the catalog. But I looked through and yes, and I was like, is there sign language? And there was. But in order to take sign language, you had to go into the College of Education. That's when I switched. And at that point, my GPA completely flipped. And I went into education. I was a teacher for 10 years and I loved it. I did. I was looking at becoming an administrator and getting ready to interview. I was a single mom at the time and teaching salary was not going to cut it. And I thought, well, I'll go into administration. But I had a friend who came to me and said, hey, I'm leaving the sales position. Do you want to take it over? Like, I think you'd be phenomenal to interview. I'm like, sales? I'm not like a car salesman or icky soil, like, icky snake oil stuff. That's my perception. Totally different now, my perception. But I ended up interviewing, got the position, and then I ended up doing and we're moving into the regional manager of the Southeast within 8, 9 months of being there and managed people. And I just felt so like, I don't know that this is what I want to be. But looking back on the entire path of, because after that I was laid off from another company and then I was screamed at and cussed out in another company. And then they'd hug me and say, God put you in your life for a reason. We're so blessed to have you. Like, it was this huge, massive roller coaster. But when I look back now to where I am today, it's all sales, business development, how to train and teach. It's everything has lined up for where I am. Mm-hmm. What's interesting, when you look back on your life, you realize things about you, and it's a continuous journey and process of doing that. But I remember the last place I was, I said I was screamed at, cussed out. I found out I was the eighth person in 10 months in my position. And so there was already a bet on how long I'd last. And I remember just crying almost every day. And that's not like me. I'm positive, there's always a way out. Let's look at this. And I came home to my husband one day and I said, you know what? If they can run a company and treat people like that, then I'm going to jump and run a company and treat people right. And I didn't know what that meant because I had zero experience with it. But what I've learned between, then and now is that I don't live in a fear of, oh my gosh, what if I fail? I have more fear of regretting not trying something. Like I would rather have said I tried it and it didn't work out versus I wonder if, or what if I had? And that's pretty much my motto. I just didn't realize it for a long time. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it was definitely a journey and thinking through that because I decided out of desperation to jump. And again, I didn't know anything I was doing. I didn't even know you had to register for a business. I literally knew nothing. And so it's been a process, but there have been people along the way that have been my cheerleaders who have encouraged me. I mean, I think about my grandma who has passed on, but she was always just the cheerleader of that, felt that I could accomplish anything. And so having, powerhouses like that who encourage you, it allows you to let go of some of that fear. And going back to what you were saying, like we can have a career and be like, this is safe. Is it really though? Because things shift and change and I've been laid off. Like I not expecting that at all, but the company doesn't exist anymore, but they tried. So, just building the business, it's been up and down. I would love to say that's been all glory and fun, but as you know, and anyone else who's ever tried doing something to build it is a roller coaster. And just when you think like, yeah, I've got this, like this is awesome, then something like a pandemic comes along, and when you're a speaker, that kind of takes a pretty big hit, and you had to get innovative and such. But I believe in surrounding myself with people who not only cheer me on, but also are saying, how do we put this mission forward? How do we help others live a life that they feel uplifted and that they're here for a reason? And that all that contributes to creating a human focused culture in a corporation or a business or any organization. Yeah, I think it's so much. I've learned to really disengage from people who were not supportive. And I'm not saying you have to agree with everything I do. Like but like minded and positive. And how, like on our team, for example, when we have our team meetings and an idea comes up and we're talking about something, it's not around, yeah, but we can't do it because of this. But yeah, we also can't do it because of that. And yes, there are times compliance and things can come into play that you can't, but we flip the question to how might we? Like, how might we do this? And so that allows us to open up and think outside the box, right? And instead of shutting it down, let's just get crazy for a minute and think, what all might we be able to do? And then filter through the crazy to see like how crazy do we get and what do we try? But I talking to a lot of women because when I'm done speaking, I have a lot of people come up and it's not just women. I have had, men who have been in tears and like cowboy hat, all the things, and such. And it just reminds me that we're all human. But I think so much of us allow what's happened in our past. Like I have a story, pretty much everybody has a story of some level, but I could have definitely allowed my past to spiral me in a different direction. And instead, someone asked me, they said, why do you think that you went down this path of how do I do better and be better versus turning to woe is me? I can't believe that this has happened to me. And let me, turn to drugs and alcohol and all the things. And it's interesting how our paths can go in different directions. And when I reflected back on that, it came back to what we're talking about is who we surrounded ourselves with. People who are healthy, people, not just from a habit perspective, but even from a mindset perspective. I feel like one of the biggest things when we talk about behavior, whether it's in personally or professionally, is a lot of it is I ask a lot of questions to get to the root cause. Like, okay, so you're telling me this is what's happening, or this is what's not going well, or this, whatever the circumstances are. But then what ends up happening is I say, well, tell me more about that. And then I start asking a few more questions to get deeper. And it just happened to me this week. I was coaching somebody, happened to be one-to-one. And I said, where does that come from? And she said, I remember a college professor yelling at me. And I went, and she's in her 30s now. She's a mom, 2 kids. And I said, really? And I said, so tell me more about that. And what she shared with me is that this college professor had yelled at her. So now when she goes to speak and present other places, the whole way there, she's saying, well, what if they don't like it? What if, they're not happy with what I'm doing? But what if, and she gets this all worked up because of what this professor said probably 15, 20 years ago. And I think that is what I find so much is we go back and we listen to this inner voice that either somebody else has said or we have started to do that talk and create that wheel. And it's so important to catch it because we'll listen to everybody. I'll tell you a strategy that a friend of mine did to me one day. I have people who say to me like, LaVonna, you're so confident. Yes and no. Like it does this, right? Confidence is not like, ta-da, I've arrived. I'm done. That's not how it is. It's who you're around and how you're emotionally feeling and what's happening in your life and all the things. And I was having a moment and I was talking to him because again, you surround yourself with people, that are supportive. And he said, you know what? I want you to tell that little LaVonna, I want you to sit her in the chair beside you, tell her to shut the up and that, she served you, but you don't need her anymore. You can do this. And I was like, because that visual and that every now and then I just say, all right, little LaVonna, thank you for serving me. You protected me, but that's where you belong. So yeah. Yep. Yeah. 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 Mhm. I'm going to say I think they're similar. I think we act a lot in society and social media as if men are they come across strong, and there is research showing that they walk into an interview that they likely shouldn't even be interviewing for when it comes to qualifications, but they already believe that they have the qualifications. So like even if they meet, 70%, I think is what the research says, if they meet 70%, that they feel like, yeah, this job's for me, where a woman goes, oh, only 70, I'm not qualified. So I think there's some of these things, right? But with that said, I also believe that from conversations with men, that there's how they're supposed to be in society, which puts a lot of pressure, and they try to live up to that standard. But in the heart to heart conversations that we have, like, I love it because I'll have people say to me all the time, like, I don't tell anybody this, and I don't know why I'm telling you. Like, but good, like, we should have a space, to be able to do that and such. So I think like that's a dream to create in a culture, to understand that you can have these conversations, but in those conversations, it's and just with men, when the hearts of hearts that they come up and will talk to me about, that they don't feel okay because I have to be tough, I have to be strong, I'm the man, and so letting that guard down, it can be some fear in that. But so yeah, I mean, others may disagree, but in my experience, I'm going to say that I don't think they're as far off as we think. There's not that big of a difference. 100%. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so SHINE is an acronym, and we use it as a framework personally and professionally. Like it can work in almost any scenario you have. And it's basically, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's one of the biggest things to say is because like my keynote, I will often say, just so you know, some of you are going to take away personally from this, some will be professional and some will be both. But we can say that we leave home at home and we come to work and it's only work, and we can flip that, but that's a lie. Like that's not true unless you're a robot. Flip the switch. Yeah, yeah. So Shine is the framework that we use across the board. So S is self, and it's primary focus, and it's all encompassing. But the main focus we look at is what are your strengths, gifts, skills, and talents. In other words, we're looking at what you do well, because all the way from childhood. I mean, school is designed, not going to bash education because I love education. But what ends up happening is even at that moment, it's about you need to do better. You didn't quite get the grade. Where's the 100%? And you didn't have an A, it's a B. And it's not, it's all about perfection and what you are still need to work on. And then we carry that into the workplace and into our home life too. But if we look at Gallup research, which says, strength of yours will remain a strength, but a weakness will never get to the level of a strength, so you can improve this. But let's just, and so this is the one that I talk the most on about S as self, because it's also mindset, it's self-care, it's anything that has to do with the individual. So it's a big one. H is heart and shine. So heart is about passion. Like, what do you love to do? What gives you energy? What boosts you? What drains you? And being aware of both. And so what we encourage is putting the two together, the S and the H. So if you take self and heart, put them together, because that's what we call the shine spot. Because if you have your strengths, but you're missing passion, you burn out, you get bored. Right? You have your passion, your heart, which it's H for heart because Ignite Your Spine doesn't work like Ignite Your Shine, right? So H is heart, because we have the passion and energy, but if we don't have the strength for it, then that might be more like a hobby. So it's understanding, right? Yeah. So S and H is the shine spot. I, because you have this beautiful package, I is inspire. Because how do you stay inspired when life does throw curveballs? Because it will, right? So how do you inspire? Yep. Yeah, so I inspire, and the other part I will add to that too is we believe in inspiring yourself and others. Where some people are really good at inspiring others and not themselves, right? Sometimes people are really focused on themselves and forget about there are other people around you that also have things that are happening. So, especially in an organization, how do you inspire each other? And then is navigate, meaning what are you going to do with everything that I just talked about? It's you putting it into action. It's your story. It's your journey. It's what goals do you have set for us. So again, this can be in an organization. How do you navigate towards those goals, bringing everybody's greatness that is in that team or in that organization up, which is going to totally skyrocket your achievement and where you go. And then E is exceptional because you're becoming the exceptional person that you were meant to be, not anybody else. And so in sign language, I incorporate sign language into my keynotes. I am not a sit and get, like we are interactive. I do, my books are on the brain science. How does the brain learn? So that's how I do my keynotes. So if you're looking for somebody behind a podium, I'm not the person that you want. I'm not the person jumping on the stage either, but we definitely do interaction. But I teach mirror. And so I know some are going to be able to see me and some won't be able to, but mirrors, if you look at the inside of your hand, like almost actually if you turn it away, like you're waving to the queen, but now turn it towards you and rock it like you're looking inside your palm. What for exceptional, I think we tend to be too good at putting up the mirrors of everybody else's greatness instead of what am I good at doing when I need that? And how do I bring that to create this exceptionality across the board? Yes. I think a big thing is when we get in that mode and that thinking that we think the grass is greener on the other side. But if you are not fixing the root cause, right, inside you and what the real challenges that you're having, all you're doing is taking that common denominator with you. So things may shift a little bit when the grass is greener, but you're going to be back to where it was. So again, it's going to come down to what exactly are you doing with you and getting into that root cause. So I just had a call yesterday from some administrators and they were just like, LaVonna, our staff is really just spiraling right now and we need support. Like they are ready to walk. Like they feel like, oh, if I just go to a different one, a different place, it's going to be so much better. And it's a short-term fix. But if we aren't willing to do the work to say, okay, why am I unhappy right now? Why am I burnout? And some of the best advice that I have given, it was my sister, especially running a business and starting it up. I was doing so much by myself and she was helping a little bit, but I felt like I couldn't give anybody else any of the other tasks. And I know when I work with organizations now, bosses feel the same way. Like I can't delegate. Like I need to do this. It's going to fall on me. It's my responsibility. Yes and no, but let's go back to the S.H.I.N.E framework. If you are doing it and it is not a strength of yours, right? Or let's even give the example of it is a strength of yours, but you are not passionate about it, you're going to burn out. Because what if somebody's on your team who says, or even at home who says, you know what, I actually love doing that? Then can they take the responsibility? Yes, yes. So what my sister had me right? So my sister had me do is jot down everything that I was doing in a week, and I would encourage anyone to do this. Is jot down like I answered email, I typed up an invoice, I sent a proposal, I whatever it is, make this list. And then she said, "What if you put your initial beside the things that you have to do? Only you can do. Like it's bottom line is it does need to be you." So I put little L's like beside all of those, and then I looked at what was left, and I went, "Holy cow!" Like these are the things that I could actually see if somebody else is willing to do or bring somebody else on who can do these things. And that has been what's helped me avoid burnout is because I try to stay in the lane of not only what am I good at doing the strength, but so I live in the S and the H. What what's draining me? And that will change. Sometimes, you're like, yes, I love doing this. And then by your 20th one, you're like, kind of over this. That's okay. It's just, yeah. Mhm. I would say that's probably where it starts, but we're big on transferring ownership, and so if I'm working with a colleague and I've noticed that they're drowning, right, or that they're not as positive as they have been, it should be also be my responsibility to say, hey, talk to me, what's going on? And if they say things like, I've been doing this task and I hate it, at this point, is there a different way that we could change the task? We've designed job descriptions to be so specific, and we say that, this is the exact role, and at some point that was defined that way, and we tend to keep that. But why do those tasks have to stay within that role? Yes, some will. But why can't we think in a different way to say that task, as long as that task gets done and it gets done right and we're all aligned, as if it gets accomplished, then that's what works. One of the things that I have found, I will add too, is that, sometimes on a team, it comes down to lack of psychological safety with feeling that I can say things. So I was working with a team, and one of them said, she goes, LaVonna, let me get this right. So if I'm not good at something, or it actually drains me, so we're going to sit in the H for passion. I said, yes. And she said, so if I'm being drained, you want me to go to my colleague and say, like, I'm not very good at this, but you are. And so, is there a way that you could help me? And she said, you want me to go admit that? And that makes me look bad. So, what do I know? I know that she doesn't want to look bad. Like, it's a reflection of her, it's her perception of herself in this. So, I said, let's flip the script. I said, and I turned to the colleague and I said, if she were to come to you and say, hey, I need support with this, how would you feel? And she went, oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. I would love to help her. And I said, you see how she lit up? You see how excited she got? But we come from our own view. Yep. Our own view. Yep. Yes. Yes. And that's where I had to learn to make that shift. What is I was viewing sales one way versus, it's getting others to understand your vision and the impact that you want to make. And if you're on board with that, if we're aligned, let's do it. Let's make it happen. But if it's when you're trying to me, I would say the word manipulate, and that word could be because I think we all manipulate in some way, right? But not in a trying to be in a negative way, but some do. And that's when it gets into that I'm trying to manipulate you and just see what I can get from you. That is the icky sales. But if it's more of like a hey, this is what my vision is, this is what I'm thinking, this is the difference that we can make. Do you want to be on board with this? Like, would this make a difference in your life and what you do? Then yeah. Well, I just sold, right? But not in that icky way. But yeah, that was a massive learning curve for me. Yes. Right. For sure. I feel like a lot of the organizations at times, and I think this probably can happen to a lot of us, but we can get caught up in the ROI. We get caught up in the numbers. What is the data showing or not showing? And we start panicking. And so what we tend to do then is focus so much more on the data and changing the numbers. And we have to do this and this. And we get like more rigorous and more intense. And we start losing some of the fun. And it should be some fun, so we say people first. And then if you think about this is why shine is so valuable to me, is that if you have individuals coming into the organization, the company, whatever it is, they're coming in and they are like feeling more confident about themselves, like this is the strengths that I have, these are the passions, this is how I contribute. Therefore they're coming in more positive, which means they're going to start elevating what you actually want the result to be. But I see so much of like, we need more from you. We need to do this, and you need to spend more hours working. And how come you only sent out 30? You should have sent out 100. And it's it's the pressures in the wrong spot. If you put it where you are building up the confidence within the team and creating this culture of I matter, I have value, and when I walk in this door, not only do I bring my own value into this, but I'm also going to add value to the company. So here we go, watch us rock out. But it's unfortunately people get. Yes, yes. And it's people like people first. I don't have time for that fluff. Well, that might be part of the problem. You're just viewing it as fluff. It's not fluff. It's these are the individuals that actually make the difference within your company. Thank you. Yeah, I would say LinkedIn is probably the best place. There's LaVonna Roth, and there's also Ignite Your Shine. So either of those, we post videos and things there to give you some tips, and always open to, hey, this is what I'm have a challenge with. Can you support? And I'd be happy to put out a post on that too. But yeah, there, and I mean, we're on all the other social media platforms under the same, but LinkedIn is where, if you're looking for more thought leadership and ideas and practical takeaways. And thank you for saying that, Apolonia, because I just am the person that I love hearing the theory. It's nice, but what does this mean? What can I do? And that's a goal of mine. So I appreciate that. And just again, thank you for having me. You are such, I hope to meet you someday. You're such a joy.